Good evening. I'd like to call to order this public hearing. It's July 18th, 2022. Thank you. The purpose of the public hearing is to provide an opportunity for the public to provide input and comments regarding the proposed City of Urbana and Urbana Home Consortium Annual Action Plan Amendment for fiscal year 2020-2021. That's the wrong that's okay. This amendment includes the Home American Rescue Plan allocation plan. Notice of this public hearing was faxed and or emailed to the media, emailed to various social service agencies and citizens, and are placed on the City of Urbana's website on June 30th, 2022, and in the July 5th, 2022 edition of the News Gazette. This allocation plan identifies preferences to serve homeless or near homeless individuals, as well as presents the proposed budget of $2,970,773. Eligible activities are supportive services, acquisition and development of non-congregate shelters, tenant-based rental assistance, TBRA, development of affordable rental housing, nonprofit operating, nonprofit capacity building, and administration and planning. I now declare this public hearing open. If anyone desires to express their views regarding the proposed amendment to the FY 2020-2021 Annual Action Plan, please come forward and be recognized. Your written comments also are welcome. If anyone wishes to address us now, please step forward, state your name for the record, and you have up to 5 minutes to speak. And I would like to call to order this public hearing. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Here.
Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here. And we do have a presentation before the public input.
Hello to council. It's great to be here again to discuss the HOMARP planning process and the allocation plan the draft allocation plan that we've created. Just to kind of open the public hearing period, we did want to provide a quick overview of the content of the allocation plan, some of which has been presented to this body previously. So we'll kind of discuss that quickly and then discuss the proposed funding allocations for this plan. So as I mentioned, a few of the sections of the plan, we've discussed the content with council previously. For consultation for this plan, we reached out to 22 different organizations via interview or stakeholder survey who work in the area of housing and homelessness issues to get their perspective on these issues and how this funding could best address them. In addition, we created a public survey and received 128 responses on how this funding could best be used to address housing and homelessness issues locally, as well as a few additional points of feedback from public meetings and direct emails. From the consultation, the public feedback, and analysis of existing data, a few priority needs that were identified for this funding were shelter facilities that are low barrier 24/7 and open to a variety of household structures and identities, supportive services to build and maintain stability for vulnerable populations, as well as increased access to affordable housing that is quality, safe, accessible, and stable. Based on all of that, we have the following recommended budget for the HOMARP funding. That all of the categories listed here are as the mayor listed, are the spending categories described by HUD that total up to the $2.97 million that we were allocated. In the next few slides, we'll address each of these spending categories individually. The allocation plan is proposing $1 million go toward supportive services, which cover a wide range of eligible expenses, including childcare and transportation, case management and counseling, as well as some financial assistance like short and medium term rental assistance. The next category is non-congregate shelter, for which we are proposing $400,000 be allocated. So this is private units or rooms as temporary homeless shelter facilities where no lease or occupancy agreement is required. And these funds can be used to either construct new facilities or acquire or rehabilitate existing facilities. For example, purchasing a hotel or motel to use it for this purpose. The next HUD category is tenant-based rental assistance, which we are not proposing that these funds will be spent on. And in a few slides, we'll kind of provide the rationale for this decision. The last kind of programming category is affordable housing that we are proposing to allocate $1 million to, which is either acquiring or rehabilitating existing facilities or constructing new facilities to be used for affordable rental housing. And these can be used to acquire, rehabilitate, or construct, as well as the ongoing operating expenses for these facilities. So in addition to those kind of 4 programming areas, there are kind of operating and administration areas that HUD laid out. The first of those is nonprofit operating expenses that we are proposing $148,000 go to. These are kind of the ongoing expenses of the organizations that use these funds for the allocated programming. So that can be salaries, benefits, facility costs, insurance, or other costs. We're also recommending $148,000 toward capacity building for the organizations that receive these funds. So that can be salaries to bring in new employees for the funded programming, as well as training, improving equipment, or getting technical assistance or consultants to assist with the HOMARP programs. And then finally is administration and programming of the HOMARP funds themselves, for which we are proposing $273,000. So this is overall management of the HOMARP program that includes the costs to create the allocation plan itself, the costs of kind of creating the process for soliciting proposals and judging those and distributing the funds, as well as kind of ongoing reporting costs. So with all of those costs described, we wanted to include a few points about why these allocations were determined. The first point I have here is that investing in facilities and supportive services will allow us to kind of better address the underlying issues for homeless and at-risk populations in our community, being able to serve the distinct needs of the various populations eligible for this funding and building on existing service infrastructure. In addition, the HOMARP funds have greater flexibility than the standard home allocation that the Home Consortium receives every year. So we want to take advantage of that flexibility to fund activities that wouldn't normally be eligible, including non-congregate shelter and supportive services. So that was one reason for not including tenant-based rental assistance in this proposal, is that those funds, that normal HUD fund or normal home funds, can be spent on that, and we wanted to prioritize activities that wouldn't be eligible otherwise. In addition, in the consultation process, there were frequently brought up point was obstacles to actually using tenant-based rental assistance, including just the quality of private rental units in the community, as well as reluctance of landlords to rent to voucher holders. So that kind of limits the effectiveness of that assistance. And finally, the supportive services category that I mentioned earlier is a pretty broad category with a lot of qualifying programs. And some of the requests for rental assistance that we saw in the public feedback can be funded under that supportive services umbrella, so including short to medium term rental assistance, move-in assistance, landlord outreach and counseling. So some of those needs can be addressed through the supportive services funding as well. With all of that covered, I want to finish by talking about the recommended preferences that we discussed for this funding. The Home Consortium is recommending that households belonging to the homeless and at risk of homelessness qualified populations receive priority for the HomeARP funded programs, basically meeting the kind of immediate urgent needs of homeless populations and being able to intervene for at risk of homelessness populations to prevent them from sliding into homelessness. And what that would look like in the actual kind of program application and implementation is that each funded program using HomeARP funds would have its own specific application process that community members would apply for. Services would be provided on a first come, first served basis for qualified applicants, but individuals that qualify under the homeless and at risk of homelessness qualified populations would be moved to the top of that list and given that priority. Using this process where there's a kind of distinct application for each HomeARP program allows us to ensure that we're fully in compliance with HomeARP regulations and able to serve all of the qualifying population for HomeARP, including groups that might not be included in kind of existing programs in the community or existing referral networks in the community. So making sure that everyone that HUD has said qualifies for this funding is eligible to submit an application. So with that, I just wanted to provide a quick reminder of the kind of process that we are in for this funding. So currently we're in the public hearing process for the draft plan. The hope is that we will receive feedback for this and be able to implement any feedback and revisions that we need to develop the final allocation plan and develop that and submit it to HUD in August. And within 45 days of the submission, HUD will either provide us the authorization to allocate these funds, or will provide us guidance on how to revise the plan in order to fully be in compliance and be able to allocate those funds. So that was a quick summary of the kind of the contents of the plan and the process. And with that, I will turn it back over.
Okay, we are at the point for public input. If anyone wishes to comment during this public hearing, please step up to the microphone, state your name for the record, and you'll have up to 5 minutes. All right, seeing no one, we will adjourn this public hearing. Thank you.
All right, good evening. Tonight we have the Committee of the Whole meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Wu,
Here?
Mr. Evans,
Here.
Ms. Hersey,
Here.
Ms. Colasetti,
Here.
Ms. Bishop,
Here.
Ms. Wilkin, Mr. Quisenberry, Mayor Marlin.
Here.
All right, the first item on the agenda is approval of minutes of previous meetings from June 21st, 2022.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Chandra, seconded by Sharice. Any corrections? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, those are approved. Additions to the agenda. So the 8th item on our agenda list, I would suggest that we remove, since that is undergoing an appeal at the moment, and we do not have any representatives from Octa Pharma or staff for that item. If there are no objections, I need a motion to remove that from our agenda, I believe. So,
I'd like to move to remove ordinance number 2022-07030, an ordinance approving a special use permit, Octa Pharma Plasma Donation Center at 2220 North Broadway Avenue, plan case 2454 SU-22. To remove it from the agenda.
I'll second.
all right, moved by Sharice and seconded by Jaya. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, that is removed from the agenda. Next item is public input and presentations. So if you'd like to address the committee of the whole tonight, please step up to the microphone and state your name for the record. All right, are there any emails that people have been asked to read? I'm sorry? That there was one for item number 8, and I guess we can just include that in the meeting minutes.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. All right, moving on. Staff report. Carol?
I just have one quick thing. I just want to alert people. We don't have a lot of information yet, but we have been made aware that the DCEO office, the Illinois DCEO office, is going to have 2 new grants that they're going to be issuing soon. And we don't have a lot of details on them, so I'm going to tell you what we know just so that you can start thinking about entities that might be interested in it. The first one is a startup grant program. This is for businesses that incorporated and began operations on or after January 1st, 2020. So this is during COVID. And then the other, and these are both focused still on COVID relief. The second one is called Reactivating Vacant and Main Street Places. It has an acronym of REVAMP program for businesses currently occupying commercial space in high traffic areas that had been vacant for at least 3 months prior to 3/1/2020 to help with the opening of businesses in vacant downtown spaces. So we don't know a whole lot. What they have shared is that the maximum grant amounts are $150,000 for each of these programs. Home-based businesses may qualify for up to $25,000 in grants from the Startup Grants Program only. So they would have to have been incorporated and begin operations on or after January 1, 2020. So that makes that kind of in a box. And then there's a variety of other things, but we don't have a lot of detail. So for now, I just want to make people aware that we're going to be getting more details on these 2 grant programs that the state will be putting out. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a closed session for collective bargaining issues 5 ILCS 120 2C2. Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll
Move-
move that we go into closed session. Sorry, sure.
I'll second.
All right, moved by Jaya and seconded by Chandra. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, after the closed session, we will come back, reopen our session, and we have 2 items left on our agenda after that. Thank you. All right, I would like a motion to come back into open session.
I'll move to return to open session.
Second.
All right, moved by Chandra and seconded by Sharice. We'll wait for Chris to sit down. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Onward. Resolution number 2022-07058R, resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1147, for a term of contract between July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2028. Michelle?
Thank you. So I come here tonight to ask you to approve and move forward with a recommendation for approval, this proposed contract between the City of Urbana and the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1147, for the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th of 2028. This is a 6-year contract. That's unusual in the City of Urbana. In my tenure here, the longest labor contract was 4 years, but we think there's a lot of good reasons to do that, and it was something that the fire union was interested in as well. It gives both sides a sense of certainty, an ability to kind of plan, know what wages are going to be so that we can focus on other matters at hand. This contract primarily addressed some wages and some other mechanisms of compensation, specialty pay, upgrade pay. It focused more on that. A lot of the prior contracts had addressed a lot of different operational issues, but things seem to be going pretty well there. And in the life of the 6-year contract, both parties can meet at any time if there are operational concerns that come up during the life of that contract. So I think this is something that the 6-year contract is going to turn out to be a very good thing for both parties. I want to thank the union's negotiating team. They were wonderful to work with. Andy Stewart, Mike Janish, Austin Upton, Calvin Kearns, Jake Hutchcraft, Jason Rushing, Josh Fitzsimmons, and Chad Johnson. I also want to thank the city's team. I had amazing, amazing people on the team with me. Damon Dade, fire chief, who started these negotiations as deputy fire chief, then ended up getting the promotion to fire chief and still made time to come and appear and work with us on these when he had a lot on his plate. Similarly, Deputy Fire Chief Kyle Hench started these negotiations as a battalion chief, assumed the role of deputy chief, but still was invaluable in assisting in this. Famie Fletcher was critical. She had working knowledge of fire operations from her time in the Urbana Fire Department, but she was just really an incredible resource. And Shannon Clark is a math god, so I couldn't have done any of this without her, and I'm grateful for her help in yet another contract. So I think I've kind of laid out the substantive changes in the body of the memo. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Any technical questions? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'd like to move resolution number 2022-07.
Nope. Yes, sorry.
058R, a resolution approving a collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1147, term of July 1st through 2022 through June 30th, 2028. I'd like to move that for approval to City Council.
I'll second.
Moved by Sharice and seconded by Jaya. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion goes forward to City Council. Last item on the agenda is council input and communications. Is there any council member who would like to have a statement? All right, with no further business in front of our committee, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.